Welcome to the HMO Property Show. By investors, for investors. Catch us weekly as we discuss all things cash flow positive property investing. Whether you're a seasoned investor, a new landlord, or just curious about property investing, this is the podcast for you. Sponsored by the Co-Living Collective, your trusted partner in creating vibrant and sustainable shared living experiences. Visit us at colivingcollective.com.au to learn more.
Welcome back to the HMO Property Show. I'm your host, as always, Neil Gibb. Today, I'm coming to you from Thailand, and my guest is in the United Kingdom. He is, let me just pull up the sheet. He is recently won the HMO Services Provider at the National Landlord Show Investment Awards 2023. He's also won Property Developer of the Year. He's the owner of HMO Premium, and he is now the co-founder of Project Home and Story Group. It's Mr. Peter Licourinos. Peter, welcome to the podcast.
Hello, my man. How are you? It's good to be here, and it's good to see your smiling face, my friend.
The pleasure is all mine. It really is. Just before we record there, I told you that I've been following you since 2015, I think, when I first got into the HMO space, and I was looking for some inspiration about what other people were doing that was different to everybody else. And you stood out, mate, and I've been following you for a long time. So a lot of the inspiration and motivation I got in the early days was because of you. So I want to start this off by saying thank you, and it's an absolute pleasure.
Oh, mate, it's my pleasure. It's nice that we can inspire people along our journeys. And, you know, I love what you're doing as well in Australia. I love your website. I love the fact you've targeted 10,000 rooms because you want to make a huge difference. So, yeah, it's good to see good people trying to do good things. So, yeah, credit to you as well, my friend.
Thank you, mate. So I like to open up these podcasts sometimes by saying, Peter, if you're at a barbecue and someone approaches you and say, hey, man, what do you do for a living? What's your normal response to that?
Yeah, that's a good question, actually. And I would probably say I do property and I do people, because my two passions in life are people, which comes from my parents. My parents were really good people. They worked in the care industry looking after disabled children. They fostered for over 30 years. They were my inspiration, and I was brought up around lots of different people. So I want to help people. I love people. I love being around people. And then I got into property in 1998. I've been in property most of my adult life, from running an estate agency and having huge success in taking it from 10 to 100 people, running an investors club, the biggest investors club in the UK, an education company, obviously a HMO company, a care company, and lots of other things. And I mean, it's hard work, and some days I don't like it, but generally I love what I do. I generally live in my dream because I'm in property and people. So Definitely people and property is my answer.
When you love what you do, mate, you never work a day in your life, do you?
Absolutely. So you say that, but sometimes it's pretty stressful. But hey, that's life, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
That's it, mate. So you mentioned there you ran the real estate agency. You also ran the property investment group. Was that the PIN network?
So I work with Simon Zucci, and I run a PIN network in Reading.
Yeah.
And it was one of the biggest networking events in the UK. And that was great fun, and it gave me a level of experience. I met some amazing people through it. I run a property investors club where we saw an opportunity back in 2008 when everything went pear-shaped, to really help property investors and give them the right advice, and take them away from estate agents and give them the real advice that they need when it comes to finance, when it comes to property sourcing, management, all those different things. And it just got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And then in 2016, I randomly found a brain tumour and was lucky enough to find it, and had incredible care and an 8-hour operation, which saved my life. But that day forward, I just wanted to do what I love doing. And that was working with property investors, helping property investors build their wealth, investing in property myself. I wanted to get into the care industry as well because of my parents. And I was just going for a period where I lost my father, which, you know, was my hero. That was a really tough time as well. So I started to create HMO on steroids, which was a bit of fun, bit of disruption for the marketplace. That came hand in hand with HMO Premium, which is the company where it evolved. I started to get contacted, it's a funny story, I started to get contacted by footballers. And they would be like, Pete, we love what we're doing. We love what you're doing. You're the HMO man. We want to invest with you, but we can't because we can't be linked with HMO on steroids because steroids and football don't go hand in hand. And I'm a big football fan. I play 3 times a week. I watch football. I love the Premier League. So HMO Premier was born from that inspiration and just really being taken more seriously. And just evolving into one of what I would hope best and certainly biggest HMO companies in the UK.
Yeah, beautiful. Well done, mate. Well done. You mentioned there it used to be called HMO on steroids. Is that name gone now altogether? Is it just HMO Premier?
HMO on steroids, it's still somewhere. It lives with me. I love it. It's cheeky. It's good fun. Everyone remembers it. And when you Google HMOs and you see HMO on steroids, it's
gonna click it.
I'm a disruptor the majority of the time. So it's still around, but HMO Premier has taken us on to bigger and better things, to be honest with you. And we want to be taken seriously for all of the right reasons, not just because we make investors the most money and we create the best rooms.
Yeah, nice. But what is it about the HMO, Peter, that made you first start getting into it, and then what's drawing the likes of footballers? And the footballers in the UK run ridiculous money, aren't they, nowadays? So I'm guessing they're looking to park their money into vehicles that give them a return as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be perfectly honest. My best investors are people that work in big cities and don't have time, and they want to leverage our experience and they want to leverage our team to invest risk-free with great returns. And it's nice to deal with sports people. We deal with anybody, but I would say our best investors, the people that go again and again and again, and the people who appreciate and understand it the most, are those really busy business owners and people who have a level of success but not enough time to do it properly themselves. Why HMOs? Well, where do I start? I would probably say, if I give you a comparison, if we look at one of the areas we invest, which is Surrey, and we look at a property that would rent to a family for £1,800, I can turn that property around. We can purchase it. And if we just look at the property first, I can buy that below market value because of my understanding of the market and my connections. I can then add value to that property because of my knowledge and my understanding and my power team. So we're creating money in that property by converting it into a HMO, first and foremost. Secondly, £1,800 a month becomes £4,500 a month for the same property, and you go from making £200 profit a month to £1,800 profit a month. So it really is a no-brainer. And then people do it for different reasons, but 5 of those, and you can quit your job easily. Your wife could quit her job as well. That could be an inheritance for the children. Lots of different reasons, but it's a no-brainer. If you do it properly, there's a huge growing market for it. And if you do it properly, the returns are amazing. And I guess I saw a gap in the market. HMOs, people shudder. When they hear HMOs, they shudder. Oh, one of those horrible houses with lots of people in. And, when I go and speak to neighbours, they're like, you're going to do a HMO? I said, look, listen, we're not going to do a HMO. We're going to do a co-living project, which is a house of multiple occupancy. But this is how it works. And they love it. And they don't mind. But I just saw a gap in the market because they were done so badly. They had a bad reputation. And I wanted to change the face of property market. I wanted to change the industry. I wanted to show people done properly, co-living is here to stay. In fact, it's replacing 1 and 2 bedroom apartments because that's the market we go after. And would someone post-COVID rather stay in an average 1-bed apartment on their own with an average kitchen and a horrible bathroom, or a luxury co-living with 4 or 5 other like-minded people with luxury space, cinema room, perhaps luxury kitchens, luxury bathrooms? It's a no-brainer, and this is a growing market that's sustainable for years to come. So yeah, I just saw a gap in the market, an opportunity, and we ran with it, and it works.
Nice. So what are the room rates renting out for per month there then? You said you get 4,500 per property, and how many bedrooms?
So the average room rent in England is £500 a month, and that's because it's done so badly. That's because it's done badly. We've broken every rule. So I remember I did a podcast 2019, and I said I was going to create an 850 room, and the interviewer laughed at me. He laughed at me on the podcast. I never forget. I'm not going to say her name. And then lo and behold, 2020, bear in mind this is in COVID, we created an 850 room, and then another 850 room. And just before Christmas, I rented the first £1,000 room that I'm aware of in the UK. And that's where we're going, £1,000 for a room. And it's an epic room. It's in a themed house. It's beautiful. So create something beautiful. People are happy to pay for it. That's the lesson here. So we could probably get up to £6,000 a month on a 5 to 6 bedroom co-living project. I like to stick to 5 to 6 people per house. It allows you to convert the house in a way which you can add value to it. And it allows you to put 5 or 6 like-minded people together that enjoy living together. And it works. You don't need full planning permission, but you do need a HMO license. And it works. We've done 7, 8 bedroom, 9 bedroom co-living projects before, and they then really go from a co-living project into a HMO. That really then becomes a HMO, because when you've got 8 people in a house, even with the best intentions, it's difficult to get the right people together, to create and keep harmony within that house. And you probably overdevelop the house, so you're actually losing value rather than gaining value. So all these little things that I've picked up over 30 years in property, I put into the way that we do this.
Yeah, beauty. So what sort of yield are you getting on them, Peter? I don't think you mentioned the purchase price on them properties in Reading.
So this is another point, okay? When people say yield to me, I think of an old person. I'll tell you why, because, I mean, that's what we used to talk about in 1990, or what yield is. That's just one thing that we look at. And the yield is a very risky way of looking at property investing. So we look at a gross yield of between 10 and 15%.
Perfect.
But then we also look at the return on the investment, the return on the capital that you put into the property.
Yeah.
But then what's the most important thing do you think you should be looking at?
Your cash flow.
You've got it, mate. This is why you're doing it well, for net profit.
Yeah.
I don't care if someone's got 4 properties up in Manchester and they haven't made any capital appreciation or value in 5 years, and they've got a 15% yield, but that only means £300 profit a month. We're looking at profit. We're looking at hard cash. What does that return a month? And unless it's returning £1,500 plus per property per month, it doesn't really interest me, because I know my clients deserve better. So we're looking at a combination of yield, return on capital, return on investment, added value, really important. Yeah, it doesn't matter if the market comes down 15%. You don't need to worry, because we've already made that 15% in the property when we bought it. And you know as well as I do, the best thing about property investing is if you make your money when you buy, if you're clever.
Yeah.
If you buy smart, you will never lose money. And that's what we do. We buy smart. So, in answer to your question, we look at a combination of those different things to ensure we have a plan A, B, and C, and the property will return in the short, in the medium, and in the long term.
Perfect. The you mentioned there as well. Oh, it's gone. Oh, you did mention something. I thought, we need to chat about that. So the how have the HMOs changed? Oh, that was it. The difference between co-living and HMO. You said that it's a co-living, but once you start adding 7, 8, or 9 bedrooms, it all of a sudden becomes a HMO. What's your definition of the two different categories? And
well, look,
which is better?
Really, it's a HMO co-living, which is professionals, or, in my opinion, it's professionals or a higher level, perhaps, or less people. The people determine it in a different way. You got HMO students, you got HMO social housing. HMO can be whatever it means to somebody, but at the end of the day, HMO co-living, I think it's evolving, as we've already said. I think you can do what you want with it. And what we want to do with it is we want to offer high-end HMOs, co-living projects, the best in the UK. And we want to set the trend. We want to increase the standards. We know when to go into an area, when to come out of an area. We came out of an area in Berkshire called Reading, which was a great place to invest for a number of years, but it's not been a good place to invest for the past 4 or 5 years for lots of reasons, and that's not going to change. So you've got to know when to get into an area with a product, whether that's co-living professionals, co-living HMO students, whatever it is, and you need to know when to get out. But, going back to 2016, when legislation started to change, I remember there was about 6,000 HMOs in Reading. 2,000 were licensed. I mean, that was the state of the market then. Now, I'd probably say 80% of those are now licensed, and the other 20% are either going to court, selling their properties, or being very lucky they haven't been caught out yet. So it is starting to change. People are starting to watch. They are starting to listen in the UK, and it is being more heavily regulated, and the quality is getting better. I don't want to focus on co-living and just leave the word HMO alone. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's not fine. I want to take HMO with us and get people to look and hear and listen to HMOs in a different way.
Yeah. And how have you seen them evolve over the years, Peter? You mentioned there that there was 6,000 of them and only 8 or 20% of them are registered. What's the difference between registered and unregistered, and how are these properties evolving to become better and better over time?
Yeah, it was pretty simple. In the UK, if you have more than 4 people, so between up to 3 or 4 people in a house is not a HMO. It's a small co-living project, fairly easy to do. 5 or 6 rooms or people in a property is a HMO. You need a HMO license. And then 7 or 8 rooms or people or more, you need a HMO license, and you will need full planning permission. It's still pretty straightforward, but you just have to be aware of that. How have they evolved? Well, I mean, a lot more people are trying to do them well. A lot more people are still doing them badly. But that doesn't worry me. If I go into a market, if I go into a new area and look at a new area and it's flooded with rooms, if they're bad rooms, people are like, oh, we can't invest there. I'm the opposite. I'm like, this is fantastic. It's flooded with bad rooms, so there's a market for good rooms. So it's about seeing things that other people don't see, but they're slowly but surely getting better. People are seeing people like you, people like me. There's other great HMO providers out there doing it well, and they're up in their standards as well. Legislation, as we already said, have changed, and that's improving. Students now, there's an abundance of different student accommodation now, and purpose-built accommodation, which is much better quality than a lot of the old-style HMOs. So, even if you want to do student accommodation for HMOs now, it has to be of a better standard than it used to be. So we're getting there. It's definitely improving.
Yeah, and it's a good thing as well, because people deserve to live in quality accommodation. And there is some investors out there that don't do the right thing and just deliver garbage to the markets. But people deserve better than that.
100%. I think when investors come to us, before I get to speak to them, they speak to one of our team. And the things that we're really serious about is we want every investor that we work with, that we potentially build a portfolio for, we want them to be in it for the right reason. And we want them to be ethical. We want them to ethically get the best returns in the UK because they're ethically providing the best accommodation in the UK. And if they don't have that mindset, then they don't really get through to the point where, I'm having conversation with them, because we're really passionate about that. And we won't lower our standards. And, we've come back to maybe the furniture packs a little later on. But yeah, anything from the way that we source property to do the development to furnish the property, it's really important that it's all done properly and to a high standard. And in return, the investor will get the best returns. They become a client of ours for life, and they'll be well looked after and always get great deals. So we're trying to create a win-win, which naturally improves the quality of what HMOs are all about.
Yeah, brilliant. Let's talk about the power team, Peter, and who you need on your power team, because that was one thing that always stuck out to me when I started watching your content back in 2015, I think. You obviously did get access to your power team, and since then I've gone out and built my own power team in Perth. Who have you got on your team, and what skill sets do they bring to the table?
I think the first thing to say about the power team, and probably the most important, is the mistakes I've made over 30 years, the pain I've been through, the tears I've gone through, because it's not easy, and it's great, when you've made those mistakes, because you only really learn from your mistakes, don't you? If we're being honest, we don't really learn from our successes. We just repeat successes, but we learn from mistakes. And I've made mistakes for the choices I've made. I've had tradespeople that owe me thousands of pounds let me down, let investors down. We've had tenants where we put the wrong tenants into properties, and I would like to say the biggest part of the power team is the mistakes I've made and the knowledge I have to make better decisions for the people that work with us. So first and foremost, that's the most important part of the power team. Then we've got a financial advisor. We work with a wealth advisor that's an investor himself, and we've worked with for 12 years. We trust him. He's a good guy. He's a really, really, really good person. Has a great team. We have a legal team that specialise in property investing, understand HMOs, Article 4 covenants on properties, where we can and where we cannot go. We have a planning team, an architect who works with us, but knows us, that knows what they're doing. Then we have 3 build teams now, which are all very, very good. They understand how to get a 15% reduction in developments. They understand how to get the best out of staff. And they understand it's tough, and I'm giving them their favourite business, because I'm giving them houses with nobody in to develop and, be creative. So, they're getting good work from me, the ideal work for them, really. And in return, we ensure they do a fantastic job at a fair price. And it's got to be a fair price. Don't try and get a really cheap trades team. I've done it. If they're too cheap, then they're going to go bust at some point, or they're not going to be good enough, or they're going to make mistakes. Be really careful with that. Then we have a Jackie. She's amazing. She does our interior design. She takes my ideas, my themes, and she puts them into reality, which is amazing. Probably the most important part of my team, apart from my business partners, is Ellie, my PA. She is absolutely amazing. Probably the most important part of my power team, because she allows me to do what I do. And I have ADHD, and I'm a live wire, I can tell you that. She keeps me organised. She keeps me setting up for podcasts at the right time. I would be lost without her. And then we've got a great management team, marketing team, and everyone else behind the scenes. So it's all really important, and everybody counts. As I say, highlighting my PA is probably more important than, a lot of people that, you'd think you're putting ahead of that. So power team is everything.
Yes. And that power team's helped you get the HMO Service Provider Award at the National Investment Awards in 2023.
Yes, very, very proud. Last year was a great year for HMO Premium, and to get recognised as the best HMO service provider at the National Property Awards was amazing. I'm really proud of that. And a big thanks to the team, my business partner, big thanks to our amazing investors that allow us to work with them and produce the best developments in the UK. We love it.
Yeah. And whilst we don't do it for the awards, it's always nice to get them, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And I think what it does is it gives peace of mind. How many websites is there where people, I've taught people, I've mentored someone, I'm not going to mention any names, for a year. And then I look at what they're up to 6 months later and make sure they're doing well. And they're an expert all of a sudden. They've been doing it a year. They've had a year of mentorship and they're an expert. They've got a website and, good for them. I love success. I love seeing people succeed. But, we've got 31 years experience. We've got hundreds of years experience within the team. And that badge, of winning that award means a lot to all of us. And it's reassurance for the clients that come to us.
Yeah. And it's great for the team as well to get that pat on the back, isn't it? Also, going in the right direction.
100%. And our team are always getting the pat on the back, and that's more important. Not because of the award, just because of the great things that they do. And when our clients turn up at the houses and their reaction is just wonderful. I was doing an interview of one of our clients last week, funnily enough, and he's bought about 12 houses with us over recent years. And he was saying, I didn't even realise it. The last 7 he hasn't even seen. We have that level of trust. It's just go again, Pete. And that's the level of trust, we have and we're proud of.
Yeah, it's good. Something that always sticks with me that you used to say, and probably do still say, is you become a client for life.
That's my motto. Yeah, we're not looking for 100 clients a year. We're looking for a much smaller number of clients that can work with us forever and we can help them forever. So we're looking for clients for life. And I think that's the main difference between us and other people. We're part of the redress scheme, as you'd expect, ARLA, governed by the Ombudsman. So we want to do everything properly. We want long-term relationships with serious investors.
Great. Peter, the HMO space in Australia and Western Australia in particular is still in its real infancy stage. There's only us and probably one or two other people that are providing HMOs in Western Australia. They're a little bit more mainstream on the East Coast in places like Sydney and Melbourne, stuff like that. But the finance is probably what's held these things back from moving forward a bit faster, because the mainstream banks don't see them as security that they want to take a mortgage over. How has the lending landscape changed in England over the years, and what's it look like now in the way of being able to borrow money for HMOs?
Really good question. So first thing I'm going to say is it's all about mindset, okay? Because when I got into this, and at times when interest rates have been crazy high, all you need to do is just go for the investors that want to buy with cash. And you think now that there aren't many investors that want to buy cash. Yes, there are.
Yeah.
And if you put your message out there that you want to work with people, or you want to work with the investors that want to buy cash and maybe finance later on, and they want to create something special, what's needed in Australia or the UK, you will find them. They are there. So that would be my advice to get things moving quicker in Australia, is find the people that can buy with cash and don't need the mortgage, and then you can look at how you finance it a bit more creatively later on when you've got that income and you can show the banks that you've got that income.
Yep.
In terms of lending in the UK, I mean, I've got to be honest, it's bloody brilliant. 10 years ago, this might surprise some, 10 years ago, HMO lending was around 8%. And then I understand that interest rates have gone up over the last year, although they're starting to come down now. And for first-time buyers in this country, it's shocking. It's not fair, and it's really hard to get on the housing ladder. And I feel for first-time buyers, it's not fair. However, for investors, lending is amazing. You're talking around 5 to 5.5% for relatively small deposits for HMOs, with some of the great lenders that lend on the HMOs. You're probably looking late fours if you want to put a bit more money into the deal. So HMO lending in the UK has never been better. Coupled now with prices have been coming down for probably the last 6 or 7 months. Properties are selling for cheaper, and the rents are going up because more people are renting because they can't get on the housing market. And obviously, we're not building houses in the UK quick enough to cope with people living longer, more children, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a great time to be property investing in the UK. I would actually say, when you look at those 3 points, it's probably the best time to invest in the UK that I've seen in my lifetime. And I'm quite old. I'm over 45. I'm over 45. So it's just a bloody great time to be buying investments.
Yeah. With the lending available that's there now, has that always been there, or has the lending landscape evolved over time as HMOs have become more popular and more normal in the marketplace?
Yeah, they've certainly evolved, and there's certainly more lenders. You're looking at 6 rather than maybe 1 or 2.
Yep.
So they've certainly evolved. There's different ways that you can purchase HMOs. There's different vehicles in which you can do it as well. But I mean, it's relatively simple, very straightforward. And as I said, the returns are there when you look at the income, the profits, the yield, the ROI all combined. So yeah, it's good times at the moment for investing in HMOs, specifically in the UK.
Yeah, great.
We've even got people now that had built a portfolio of buy-to-lets, and now they're coming to us and saying, look, we don't need you to source us new properties. We want you to do portfolio management and change our portfolio into HMOs. And that's a growing market as well. That's equally as fun.
Yeah. Because that'd be the same as what you do anyway. You source properties and then convert. So if you already own them, you just convert them without the purchase side.
You've got it. Yeah. I mean, we're technically, we're hands-free investing. We source below market value. We add value. We architect, design, develop the interior design. We license it. We manage it. So it's end to end. Or sometimes investors might come to us and ask if they can sort of pick and mix the services that we do provide.
Yeah, right. Great. I see on your website as well now the 3 main areas that you're focusing on are Berkshire, Hampshire and Surrey. How many of your HMOs would you be comfortable putting in one area before you felt that you'd be oversaturating an area?
Yeah, well, if you've got to look at, within Berkshire, there are probably 20 different mini cities. Within Surrey, within Hampshire, the same. It's really taking you from Richmond all the way down to Bournemouth with everything in between. So, I mean, you're talking hundreds of thousands of houses, millions of people. So these areas are sustainable from a rental point of view for the next decade, which is really important. It's an affluent area, big blue chip presence everywhere. More and more people moving outside of London, to these sort of ripple towns and cities. And they're getting bigger and bigger, and more people want to live here. They're being invested in heavily with new town centres, big, huge housing markets. They're amazing locations all around us. So yeah, I mean, it's a large area, sustainable for a long time. Prices have still got space to grow, and I think it will go over the next 10 years, 50% growth. So not only are you're not just relying on that 1,500 to 2,500 a month profit from each property. Your property, if you buy it at 500, it should be worth around 750 within the next 10 years. I'm wrong at a lot in life, but I'm rarely wrong at property.
What's the demographic of tenancy that you're getting in them areas as well, Pete?
Yeah, we like to deal with professional tenants.
Yeah.
There's a market for social tenants, professionals, but we're trying to produce 5-star plus accommodation for professionals, perhaps people that would normally buy one or rent or buy 1 or 2 bedroom apartments. We're now showing them a different path. Hey, well, come and live with 4 or 5 like-minded people. Don't be on your own. Don't accept a small, horrible, kitchen or bathroom. Come and live like kings and queens and live with other kings and queens, and it's cool. I theme every HMO differently. I have London themes, positive themes, music themes, and I love it. And the tenants have fun with it, and they're, you're smiling, I'm smiling. That's what it's about.
I've seen the themes, they're cool. Could you run out with themes? Is it possible?
Hey, I don't know if you know the ADHD brain. My brain can't run out of anything.
Let's talk about furniture packs as well, because you did touch on them briefly earlier. Do you fully furnish all of the properties that you bring to the market, or do you let tenants bring their own furniture in if they need to?
This is a non-negotiable. If an investor doesn't want us, the experts, to furnish the house, we won't work with them. If an investor wants to leave unfurnished rooms for a tenant to bring in furniture, take it out, take the standards down, chip the woodwork.
Yeah.
We're not going to work with them yet. But from a really serious business point of view, the main reason is you can do the best development you've ever done. The builders have nailed it. And then you have a moment of madness. You go to IKEA to save a bit of money and you buy shite furniture. And you've just lost £150 on each room. You haven't been creative, another £50 on each room. You haven't made use of the space, another £50 on each room. You're down £1,000 a month. I mean it. It makes that much of a difference. My ideas, our ideas, the way that we furnish and design, it's so important, and it will make an investor money. And we do a tour. We show them what they're talking about, what we're talking about. Once they see it, they're always in. So yeah, furnishing so important, my friend.
Oh, it's. How has this journey evolved into story and project home? Because that's something that I've only just found out about online, and been itching to get onto this part of the podcast to find out a little bit more about it.
Okay, I didn't know you were going to ask that, but I'm glad you have.
Yeah.
My mum and dad were in carers. They run a mentally handicapped hospital to deal with the most challenged children in the UK. They were the most caring people in the world. They were my inspiration. They fostered for over 30 years. I grew up with brothers and sisters and friends staying at the house every week. And that just really gave me the best grounding as a kid I could get. And it's lived with me and it's stuck with me. And I guess I've always wanted to do something that my mum and dad would be proud of and use my superpower, which is property, to give back. But that's not enough. That is nowhere near enough. And luckily, a guy that worked with me, Richard Williams, came to me with a guy called Brian Murphy. And they were in an aspect of care and alternative provision. And they said, look, the world is broken. There's kids that, are homeless, getting beaten, abused, and there's no housing for them, or a lack of it, or the housing that's available is terrible. We wanted to do something about it. And I was like, wow, yeah, that's my dream. So do I. So we created Project Home. As we were creating Project Home, I think we're on our third house. And hey, when the council came to our house, they looked around our house, they were in tears. They said they'd never seen anything like this luxury accommodation we were creating for children. So, that's the extent, and how far we've taken it. And then we were approached by another company that does alternative provision schools for children with learning difficulties, ADHD, autism. And they said, look, we want to grow. You want to grow. Why don't we grow together? And then we went from, 3 great minds, great people, directors in one property, 4 in the other. And we merged together and we became Story Group, Story Homes, Story Training, and Story Alternative Provision. And we became this bigger unit. And 7 people, I never thought I would, and I'm being honest, I never thought I would find 6 other people that were so like-minded, caring, kind, considerate, as I have. And together, the 7 of us, I kid you not, we get on so well. We've taken this, company to 6 homes in 2 years, 2 schools. We just bought a big school of Berkshire, some other commercial premises where we're doing great things, and we're helping loads and loads of people. And it's not been easy. In fact, it's been the most difficult thing I've ever done. And there's been tears and there's been exhaustion, but it's been the most rewarding thing I've ever done. They're the best people I've ever worked with. And we're really starting to make a big difference. And we're going to change the face of housing for children and young adults in the UK. And we've already started, and that's our mission.
Yeah. I just want to share the vision with everybody because it put goosebumps on me when I read it. So the vision for Story is we won't stop until every young person in the United Kingdom has access to a loving home, quality care, emotional support, and the tools needed to write their own story. Gives me goosebumps again.
Thank you. Thank you so much for reading that out. And that's how, honestly, that's how we all feel. And I think, I've been surrounded by some great people in my life, but also some really bad people. And I'm surrounded by the best people. And it takes me a lot to trust because I've had my own traumas and, business partners and people that have let me down, like we all have. But I'm really working with some truly wonderful people now. And I've got some great mentors. So my business partner, Richard, at HMO Premium, is brilliant. He was actually a client, I think, which says, a lot before he became a business partner. Andrew G, some great people around me. Rob Moore from Progressive Property was a great mentor, and he's a marketing genius. So I've been surrounded by some great people. But yeah, Brian, Richard, Aaron, Rob, Grant, and Ryan, they're good lads.
Yeah. Have you got any success stories you can share with us from Story?
Yeah, what type of stories would you like?
Some kids that you've helped house and get into quality housing.
Well, I'll be honest, we can't really, for legal reasons, talk about individuals and circumstances. But what I can say is, we've housed people that have been abused. We've housed children that both their parents have suddenly passed away and they've got nowhere to go. It's just the stories are, really difficult to listen to sometimes. They really are. So we're helping some amazing children that really, really need it, and young people sometimes need it more. And they're not easy. You've got to go for Ofsted registration. Ofsted, are very, very harsh, and which is good because we're looking after children. But I think where I want to lie most of our credit, if I can, is the care team from all the staff at Story Homes are just incredible. And what they do to help people, they're the real heroes within the organisation. Their patience, their knowledge, their care, they're absolutely incredible. And the people we have in our AP, they're absolutely amazing. And what they're doing with the children and the passion and care they put into making a difference and solving their problems and dealing with their traumas is absolutely incredible. And we're very lucky. We've employed well. We've got incredible staff, and they're the people that make the difference.
Nice. Is the funding available for the Story and Project Home? Is it government funded? Is it privately funded?
So it wasn't difficult to get up and running. In terms of getting up and running at the beginning, we looked at investment. If people think there's great big profits in it, they're wrong. If you don't do it for the right reason, you won't be in the business for long because you've got to care. Yeah. You've got to do it for the right reason. But in terms of the funding for the individuals, that will come from local councils,
right,
which has been given from the government. And you've got to work with the local councils to provide them with a care company that provides peace of mind, quality care, and value for money. It's really important. Councils don't have money to throw all over the place, so you have to make sure that you're saving money for the councils where you can as well, and you're being fair, and we are, and it works well. Yeah,
I'm guessing you've got a pretty good reputation with the councils, with the HMO side of things as well.
Yeah, obviously I'm renowned for producing quality homes and good level HMOs, but supported accommodations are a couple of steps up, and it's different to a HMO. And then a children's home is a completely different ballgame, like it should be, because you're dealing with children that are young and vulnerable. So it should be, but it's not easy, but it's a good industry to be in if you're in it for the right reasons.
Yeah, nice, man. Very nice, very nice. Pete, what mentors and coaches have you had there? You mentioned a few of them. Is there any more that you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, I think everyone has a story. Look, I'll be honest with you, all 7 of us are very differently skilled, from care, marketing, experience in the industry, property. And just a big shout out to Brian, Richard, Aaron, Rob, Grant, and Aaron, because they're just amazing guys. Richard Keeley, my business partner at HMO Premium, he's been one of my best investors, one of my best life coaches. He's certainly been a great mentor for me. Rob Moore, has been a great guy as well. Dean, loads and loads of good people. But I'll be honest with you, I've had a few bad ones as well.
Yeah.
But that's after, I mentioned at the beginning, most of our lessons come from our mistakes, not our successes, unfortunately. When you have success, you try and repeat the process. When you have mistakes, you have to learn from it. You have to dust yourself down, and you have to go again and again and again. And yeah, I've certainly made some of those mistakes, whether that be in mentors or other things, but I learned from them quickly.
Yes, excellent. Pete, is there anything that I haven't asked you that I should have asked you in this podcast?
I don't think so. No, I think, if people want to follow us, then, jump on our website, which is www.hmopremier.co.uk. Property for Licourinos on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, I'm on LinkedIn. And, we just want to help people, whether that be in the UK, Australia, or anywhere else in the world, to do property better. If you're an investor, we want you to invest successfully, and we want to help your money go as far as possible ethically. And if you're a tenant, we want to give you the best value for money and accommodation in the UK. If it's a care home, we want to provide the best luxury care home in the UK. So just do it for the right reasons. Yeah, don't think investing is a get-rich-quick scheme. It's not. It's a get-rich with hard work over time scheme, as you probably would agree.
Get rich slow. Peter, thank you very much for coming on the podcast.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's always good to see you. Thank you for having me. And yeah, hopefully I hear from some of your fans over the coming weeks. And if I can help any of them, I'd love to. But always good to see you, mate.
Absolutely. Thanks, Pete.
Thanks for watching. Make sure you tune in the same time next week so you can stay up to date with all cash flow positive property updates.